Part 36. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 351. When I went to the cruise ship charity dinner, it was April 6. The bandage on Wen Qiao's wrist had been removed, the cast was still bound, and a wrist scarf was put on, which was not very obvious. Fu Nanli flew to Helsinki, while Wen Qiao's M Club members escorted the famous painting Sunflower in England. The car was prepared by Fu Nanli Wei. Wen Qiao went with Wen Qi and Wen Mo. She originally wanted her mother to go too, but her mother didn't like to join in the fun. Wen Qi and Wen Mo were in well-fitted suits, two handsome young men with completely different temperaments, and they attracted the attention of many people as soon as they got out of the car. There was no media tonight, so Wen Qiao was relieved to bring his two younger brothers over. On entering the cruise ship, Wen Qiao handed over his coat to the waiter, wearing a long champagne-colored sparkling diamond dress, and his long curly hair was casually draped over his fair shoulders. Even with light makeup, it was bright enough. As soon as he entered the infield, he attracted a lot of attention. People's attention. Fu Nanli had never brought her to such an occasion, so most of the people present didn't recognize her very well. Wen Qiao was just here to gain knowledge and have no utilitarian intentions. Vanity Fair is sensual, and if you indulge in it, it will be difficult to extricate yourself. Wen Qiao took Wen Mo's arm, Wen Qi followed, and wanted to stretch out his hand to pull the bow tie. Fortunately, I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. It's okay to attend this kind of party once in a while. If you wear it like this every now and then, it can suffocate me. Wen Qiao grabbed his hand. Don't talk nonsense. Many gentle and polite men in suits and shoes wanted to come over to talk to Wen Qiao, but they were all forced back by Wen Kai's fierce eyes. My sister, I have a boyfriend. At an altitude of 30,000 feet, the plane had already switched to autopilot mode. Su Shen breathed a sigh of relief and asked Fu Nanli, I heard that Xiao Wen was injured. Fu Nanli replied in a deep voice, yes. Why don't you take her with you? His captain knew about little Wenduo's baby, and he was injured, even if he wanted to take him with him 24 hours a day. Fu Nanli pressed his eyebrows. She should be attending a charity dinner now. Su Shen was surprised. Captain, can you rest assured to let Xiao Wen go alone? Let her brother accompany her. That's why Mr. Fu asked his two younger brothers to accompany her. He not only wanted Wen Qiao to be a strong person, but also worried that her beauty would bring her unnecessary trouble. The younger brothers are not bad. When he is away, the younger brothers will block the bees and butterflies for him. In the atrium of the cruise ship, with fragrant clothes and beautiful flowers, Wen Qiao put a miniature earphone in his ear, and Yushu's voice came, we just arrived in London from Amsterdam. I will turn on the miniature camera on my glasses later. You also look around to see if there are any suspicious people around. Is it convenient? Wen Qiao patted Wen Mo's hand and said to Wen Qi, you guys have something to eat here, I have something to do over there. Wen Qi, are you still entertaining? That brother Nanli is calling, I want to answer it. Wen Qiao walked to the corner beside the spiral staircase. Xiao Mo and Xiao Qi were within her line of sight. She pretended to be on the phone and watched the live broadcast from Yushu on the screen. After getting off the plane, a special museum car was parked on the tarmac with a wide field of vision. Passengers came down from the gangway. Wen Qiao carefully discerned the crowd around, but couldn't see any clues for the time being. She glanced at her phone from time to time, then looked up at Xiao Mo. When Mo was drinking with a glass of water, his behavior was a little cramped, and someone who didn't know what to find was approaching. Happy Chinese New Year to everyone. Hope all the babies are healthy, safe, and happy. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 352. Although when Mo was cramped, he didn't feel panic in his heart. Although my sister would take him to some places with many people, she never forced him to be a person who was able to communicate well. He didn't like to be in contact with people, so she wouldn't force him, so he didn't have much psychological pressure. When she casually picked up a beautifully colored and well-crafted macaron cookie and threw it into his mouth, put one hand in his pocket, and leaned against the ivory-white Roman column, "It's boring, it's better to play games at home." When Mo smiled, "Hey, isn't that you, Jean?" When she saw his new teammates in the crowd and patted Wenmo's shoulder, "I said a few words in the past, don't run around." When Mo nodded. The picture on Wen Xiao's mobile phone went to the streets of London. Yushu was sitting in the car, reached out and pushed his glasses, and looked around. Wen Xiao was attentively watching everything on the screen. "Wen Xiao, when you arrive at the museum, parking is the most dangerous time. Famous paintings will be displayed on the third floor of the museum. The museum staff may take the elevator. Be careful." Yushu, "Okay." Wen Xiao, Dongyao has been asked to check all the surveillance cameras and wiring problems throughout the museum. The car slowly stopped in front of the museum. The staff in black coats, wearing white gloves and carrying a heavy brown wooden box, walked to the entrance of the museum under the escort of the staff. Suddenly, a man on a motorcycle rushed over with lightning speed. Everyone looked defensively at the whistling motorcycle, but did not notice that another girl wearing a mask came quietly behind her on a skateboard. She threw a smoke bomb at random, and everyone panicked. When Xiao vaguely saw that the girl directly, he grabbed the wooden box in the hands of the staff, stepped on the skateboard, and quickly left the range of the smoke bomb. There was a sports car parked on the side of the road to respond. She raised her eyebrows slightly. The staff of the museum immediately got in the car and chased after him. Lin Xiang, Song Yu, and Yushu were all dressed in high school uniforms, each carrying a bag, ignoring the chaos behind them and entering the museum. The three entered the elevator together, and there was another person lurking on the partition directly above the elevator. There are several groups of people who covet famous paintings. Some people were rushing to grab it in front of the museum, and some people had been lurking for a long time, wanting to come without knowing it. A voice came from the thief's headset. "The blue-haired girl in the middle, from Amsterdam to London, has been circling around the famous paintings. Something strange stuns them." Before the young man could move, he smelled an abnormal smell. He immediately put on a gas mask. Was he being preempted by others? So there is indeed a problem with these female students in the elevator. He couldn't hesitate anymore. He reached out his hand to remove the slab on the top floor of the elevator, but found that, unable to move, a small remote control car slowly approached from the pipe. The man stretched out his hand to take it. Instantly lost consciousness. The next moment, the elevator door opened, and after passing through layers of barriers, it finally arrived at the exhibition center, which was on the highest alert. Yushu took off the backpack, unzipped it, took out the paintings inside, and handed it to the curator who was waiting here. Yes, the box that was robbed just now at the entrance of the museum was empty. Wen Xiao discussed it with the person in charge from the beginning and put the real painting in Yushu's backpack. No one would pay too much attention to a girl dressed as a student, so she entered the museum smoothly all the way. The only thief who realized that something was wrong was also settled by Dongyao with the remote control car. The task is temporarily completed. Yushu whispered, "We will guard the exhibition hall carefully for the past few days. There is no problem for the time being." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 353. When Mo stood alone in the corner, and after drinking 2 sips of water, he looked bored at the passers-by. Suddenly a voice came, Why are you crazy here? When Mo turned around, he saw his half-brother Wenxian standing in front of him arrogantly, his eyes full of disgust. He ignored it and didn't speak. Wenxian is 12 years old this year, and he inherited Zhonghui in terms of stature. Ha ha ha, why I forgot, you are not only a lunatic, you are also a mute. When Mo clenched his fist slightly, and his eyes were a little gloomy. Behind Wenxian were Sulu and a few arrogant and ignorant young masters who looked just like Wenxian, all watching Mo's jokes. Is this the one your dad gave birth to before? Wenxian is not a big man, but his mind is very bad. He sneered, yeah, he's a lunatic, he can't speak. Your father is really unlucky. Wenxian rolled his eyes at Mo, not only is he crazy, but he is also very greedy and asks my father for a lot of money. I really can't see it. Wenxian, that's why their family they deserve to be sick, they deserve to live poor, they deserve. With a pop, a big slap slapped Wenxian's face directly. Wenxiao became anxious, and with 10% of her strength, the slap directly slapped Wenxian to the ground. Wenxiao ignored a child who was yelling at her and looked at Mo worriedly. Xiao Mo, are you okay? Xiao Mo was finally willing to speak. If she was stimulated by Wenxian's stupid thing and made her autism worsen, she would never be able to forgive him. Seeing the worry in her sister's eyes, Mo suffocated. Sister, I'm fine. Wenxian finally got up with the help of his friend. He couldn't believe that Mo actually spoke. His friend whispered, didn't you say he was dumb? Yes, doesn't this speak? Sulu supported her younger brother, her eyes trembled, when Mo was able to speak, and when she heard that her bipolar disorder was cured. When Kai's bipolar disorder was cured, but she was going to be dry. As a result, the three brothers and sisters of the Wen family were obviously unable to hide the light. Uncle Wen learned that Fu Nanli was Wen Xiao's boyfriend, and he intended to ease the relationship there. In this case, her brother and her mother's situation in Wen's house, especially her brother is Uncle Wen's biological son, and Uncle Wen always loves him, but she has no blood relationship with Uncle Wen. Now that there is no backstage to hold her, Uncle Wen is lukewarm to her again. And her current situation is all thanks to Wen Xiao. Wen Xiao suddenly changed her temperament, causing her originally stable life to change along with it. She hated this change, but she couldn't do anything about it. Wen Xian covered his face, gritted his teeth and looked at Wen Xiao. How can you beat someone? Where do you think this place is? You've been in the slum for a long time, and suddenly you get a lot of money, so you think you can do whatever you want? Where do you think you are jumping? Wen Xiao sighed that Zhonghui really had no quality, and taught her son to look like a rogue in the market, and she did not see the appearance of a good education in the upper class. With a smack and another slap, Sulu grabbed Wen Xian and said angrily, Wen Xiao, what are you doing? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 354. Wen Xiao looked at the sister and brother with a smile. Obviously, Zhonghui and Wen Jianmen didn't teach you how to be human, and let your brother develop a vicious, mean, provocative character at a young age. Since they all deceived my brother, then I will reluctantly educate him and let him know that he will be beaten for being mean. Sulu's face flushed. He's still a child, do you know anything like a child? The smile in Wen Xiao's eyes became more and more indifferent. You have a bad memory, so I'll tell you again, Wen Xian is 12 years old and is no longer a child. Of course, if you insist on saying that he is a child, I can also recognize him. Children are ignorant, it must be taught by adults. You mean, let me hit you, right? Sulu turned into anger. Wen Xiao, you're a mess. When Mo protected Wen Xiao, stared at Wen Xian, apologize. Now that he can speak, he will stand in front of his sister without hesitation and protect his sister. When Wen Qian humiliated Wen Mo, Sulu just watched. Wen Qian was spoiled, Sulu also silently indulged him, and she also hated the three siblings. Anyway, only Wen Mo is a soft persimmon in their family, thinking that one can be one. Unexpectedly, Wen Mo, a soft persimmon, insane, and dumb, he actually opened his mouth to speak. She still can't come back to her senses. Wen Qian was so angry that his chest heaved violently. Apologize. Are you dreaming? Your sister beat me, and you want me to apologize? Why is your family so unreasonable? No wonder my father drove me away. Sulu covered his mouth. Brother has no sense, he can. That sister and brother are not easy to mess with, and Wen Qiao even beats 10. She was also afraid that Uncle Wen would come to him when he heard the news, and he would scold her for not disciplining her brother well. She whispered, Xian, just apologize to them. Wen Qian was filled with righteous indignation. Sister, why? Why? Wen Qiao tilted her head and said indifferently, you slandered my brother with your slander, you don't have to apologize, just wait for the lawyer's letter. Your father has experience in receiving lawyers' letters, and the guardian is responsible for personal attacks and so on. Bar. Sulu was anxious. Xian, apologize quickly, or Uncle Wen will be angry. Wen Xiantian was not afraid, just afraid of his father. Looking at the siblings, he reluctantly apologized and was dragged away by Sulu. Wen Qiao turned around and touched Wen Mo's head. Look, the enemy is not scary at all, the enemy is a tiger made of paper. Wen Mo nodded, yeah. No matter where he is, he will slowly become his sister's umbrella, allowing her to hide behind him and be sheltered by him. Sulu took Wen Qian up to the second floor, looked down, and could see Wen Qiao and her brother chatting and laughing. She stretched out her hand to hold the railing, and felt resentful in her heart. But suddenly I heard Uncle Wen's voice, and my heart suddenly froze. Wen Jianmin was still discussing things with his business partners, and he heard some discussions from time to time, saying that it was his youngest son who was embarrassing a tall boy who couldn't speak well. I also heard that the boy's sister came up to teach his son a lesson. As soon as he thought about it, he knew that Wen Qian had caused the trouble. There are still some doubts in my heart. A tall boy who can't speak well? Is that Wenmer? Wen Mo can actually speak. Without thinking about it, he hurriedly found Wen Qian and Sulu. Lulu, what's the matter with you? With a pitiful look on Sulu's face, she lowered her eyebrows and looked at Wen Jianmin. Uncle Wen. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 355. Wen Jianmin tutade lightly, Xian is still young, why don't you care about him and ask him to trouble someone on this occasion? Are you asking for trouble for Wen Mo? Wen Qian was not convinced. I didn't bother him, it was Wen Qiao who slapped me twice, so fierce. Shut up, Wen Jianmin was angry, and turned to look at Sulu. In this case, do you just let him make trouble? As a sister, don't you drag him? The last one is lost. It's also my face, don't you know? Sulu was a little dazed. In the past, this kind of accusation was given to Wen Qiao by Wen Jianmin, and she always gloated on misfortune as a bystander. Suddenly, the roles were reversed. The person who was scolded became her Sulu. As for Wen Qiao, on the first floor, he folded his arms and looked at her with a schadenfreude smile on his face. She was angry in her heart, but she could only say softly, Uncle Wen, it's my fault. I'll take care of Xian next time, sorry. She knew Wen Jianmin and knew that all excuses would only disgust him. The only thing she could do was to resign and apologize. The resentment towards Wen Qiao deepened in his heart. Wen Qiao built his happiness on the pain of others. Wen Qi and Yu Zhan chatted for a while, and when they came back, they saw his sister comforting Wen Mo. What's wrong? Wen Xiao raised her eyebrows and looked upstairs. Wen Xian found fault and was beaten by me. Wen Qi became angry when he heard it. That kid is looking for something again, I'll teach him a lesson. Wen Xiao grabbed him. Okay, I've already taught you a lesson, you don't need to teach it again. Seeing Wen Jianmin hurried down from the second floor, with a clear goal, he went straight to Wen Xiao and the others. Wen Qi and Wen Mo, one on the side, stood beside Wen Xiao, and the three siblings became the most dazzling presence in the audience under the crystal lamplight. Someone kept whispering in Wen Jianmin's ear, whose children are those children? They are really good looking. Yeah, they look like sisters and brothers. The two boys are twins, they look a bit like. Boys and girls are beautiful. Wen Jianmin clenched his fist, his expression turned out to be proud. That kind of pride made Wen Xiao want to laugh. Why are you? Wen Jianmin walked up to the three with a particularly amiable attitude. Xiao, is Mr. Fu here too? Wen Xiao said indifferently, has he come or not, does it have anything to do with President Wen? Wen Jianmin choked, why does your child always speak with thorns? Wen Xiao sneered, why doesn't President Wen have a long memory? I always talk like this. Wen Jianmin couldn't help his face, my lord doesn't have the same knowledge as your children. If you have time, take Mr. Fu to sit at home, I am very welcome. There was no warmth in Wen Xiao's eyes. I'm sorry, I only have one home, at number 219 Shuiying Road. Wen Jianmin gritted his back molars, you child, don't be ignorant, we are father and daughter after all, and we can't let go of our flesh and blood. Wen Xiao looked at him blankly, is it the last thing you can do? You didn't say that when your son was sick. You didn't say that when we asked you for money. President Wen is so old. How can you say that you don't have any weight, and you regret it when you say it back? Wen Xiao is not a good-faced person. She doesn't mind turning out the crimes and filthy things that Wen Jianmin has committed and showing them to everyone. Knowing the temper of this dead girl, Wen Jianmin didn't plan to continue to entangle this matter in front of so many people. He just patted Wen Mo's shoulder kindly and said, it's a good thing that we Xiaomo are willing to speak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 356. When Mo took a step back, his eyes full of defense. Wen Xiao grabbed Wen Mo's hand and stared at Wen Jianmin indifferently, not only is Xiao Mo willing to speak, but Xiao Qi is now well and has good grades. We will also win glory for the country in esports. Mo is the first in the grade every year, and the child that President Wen despises is growing up well. For a person like Wen Jianmin, he would not reflect on it. He just felt a little regretful. If he had been a little firmer at the beginning, these children would be by his side now, and he would really be able to win glory for him. What he values is always his face. Too bad there is no if. Wen Xiao is a very strong-tempered girl, and her two sons only listen to this girl, with hedgehog hair standing on the opposite side of him. All their achievements have nothing to do with his biological father. Wen Jianmin was stunned. Someone around was whispering about their Wen family affairs. He didn't feel good about it. He said, you brothers and sisters are having a good time. I have something to talk about, and then hurriedly left the three brothers and sisters. Everything was in Sulu's eyes. Uncle Wen's gesture of goodwill was clear at a glance, and a sense of crisis emerged spontaneously. Her situation in the Wen family would become more and more difficult. The look in Wen Xiao's eyes became even more mournful. Wen Xiao took Wen Mo's arm, is Xiao Mo okay? Wen Mo nodded, it's okay, sister. Wen Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. Fu Nanli's original intention was to let Wen Qiao get to know some useful people. As soon as Wen Jianmin and his son got together, she lost her mood, so she and her two younger brothers ate some delicious snacks and drinks, as if they were here for a buffet. 2 days later, when Fu Nanli came back, Wen Qiao was in his apartment, the door opened, and a man came in wearing the captain's uniform. Wen Qiao pulled his slippers and ran over, took the captain's cap in his hand, and Fu Nanli put the suitcase aside. Took her into the room and said, "How about the charity dinner? Anyone know anything useful?" "Wen Qiao, I got to know a little bit, and I have benefited a lot." Fu Nanli arranged for her with good intentions, and naturally he couldn't tell Wen Jianmin and Wen Xian's bad things to block him. Fu Nanli touched her head. "That's good. I'm going to make a few dishes, all of which have been cut and prepared. I'll go to the kitchen to fry them, and they'll be fine soon. You take a rest." Wen Qiao put her mobile phone on the low table in front of the sofa and went to the kitchen to cook by herself. Fu Nanli unbuttoned the uniform on his neck and reached out to press his eyebrows. Wen Qiao's phone screen lit up, he looked down and saw a WeChat message. "Dong Yao, Grandpa Lin went back and read the ancient books, saying that your illness is temporarily unsolved, but don't worry, it will definitely be resolved in the end." In just a few words, it was like throwing stones into the calm lake, causing huge ripples. At that moment, Fu Nanli was even a little flustered. His Qiao Er was trying to heal himself and to leave him. This kind of cognition went straight to the bottom of his heart, and the tremor caused confusion in his mind. Can't be calm, can't think rationally, can't sit still, and don't know what to do. Blame her? She just wanted to heal. Who doesn't want to decide their own life? Why should she have to live on another person all her life? Fu Nanli was confused, picked up a pack of cigarettes and went to the terrace, sitting outside smoking quietly. "Wishing you all the best in the new year. The tree, which is still coating during the Chinese New Year, needs your love. Please ask for a monthly ticket and a recommendation ticket." Then heart. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 357. Wen Qiao put the cooked beef brisket on the table, looked around, but didn't see Fu Nanli, picked up the phone and looked at Dong Yao's message. Her heart trembled. Why did she throw her phone around, in case Fu Nanli saw it? However, the words are vague. Even if Fu Nanli sees it, he shouldn't think too much about it, right? Looking up, he saw him sitting on the terrace smoking a cigarette under the high flower column. The twilight was heavy. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Wen Qiao could see the feeling of loneliness from his back, as if his heart had been hit by something. He put the phone in his pocket and walked away. To the floor-to-ceiling windows. She knocked on the floor-to-ceiling window, and Fu Nanli turned back when she heard the sound. Those deep and lonely eyes made Wen Qiao feel a little suffocated in the dusk light. She smiled at him with frowning eyes. "It's dinner time." There was a layer of glass, and when her voice entered his ears, it was a little dull, but her smile was bright and pure, like amber without a trace of impurities, which made people unable to help moving. There was still a long piece of cigarette in his hand, which he pushed out in the ashtray. Pulling the door open and closing it again, Wen Qiao walked towards him with a smile. Before he opened his mouth, he pressed it against the floor-to-ceiling window. His kiss was urgent and turbulent. At the end, he asked her, "Joe, do you like me?" With such straightforward words, Fu Nanli actually asked such a question. He was rational and reserved. In front of Wen Qiao, everything collapsed. He only wanted to hear the simplest answer. Wen Qiao was stunned for a moment. She didn't seem to need to think about such a question or analyze her own heart. She instinctively made her answer him instantly. "Of course I like you. Of course I worry about you. Of course I like you too." The words were all out of her mouth, from her subconscious mind. Fu Nanli's arms were tightly around her, and Wen Qiao even felt that she couldn't breathe. Fu Nanli stared at her, looking at her eyes. The amber eyes, in the dim light of the dusk, were captivating. They were a pair of beautiful eyes that could easily make people addicted. The rough thumb gently stroked her red and swollen lips, which was caused by his gnawing and biting. Fu Nanli closed his eyes lightly, his eyes surging. Wen Qiao, you provoked me first. If you provoke me and want to leave me, there is no such reason in the world. My world, you come in, don't even think about leaving. He will keep her by his side no matter what he does. Wen Qiao put his hand loosely on his waist and said carefully, what's the matter with you? The epaulette on his uniform reflected a light mark under the setting sun, which was printed under Wen Qiao's eyes, causing her to narrow her eyes, like a lazy kitten. Shadows were hidden in the bottom of his eyes, and he looked at her eyes, which gradually softened, and his voice was a little tired. This time I came back and encountered air currents a few times, and the flight was not smooth, and I was a little tired. Wen Qiao felt a little distressed. You eat first, take a hot bath after eating, and have a good rest. Don't go tonight, eh? Wen Qiao was bewitched by his eyes and nodded, well, don't go. When Fu Nanli came out of the shower, Wen Qiao stood at the door of the bathroom with a towel hanging on her shoulders, with a smile in her eyes. I'll wipe and blow your hair for you. He sat on the carpet in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. Wen Qiao's approach was so gentle and meticulous that he couldn't believe it. Except for her family Xiaomo, when has she been so gentle and patient with other men? I saw some massage techniques on the internet. I'll give you a try later. The man lowered his eyes and responded. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 358. His short hair is dark and thick, with a hard texture. Like his personality, he is in a position of absolute control. After a few minutes of blow drying, my hair was more than half dry. Wen Qiao took his hand, you lie on the sofa, and I will massage you. Fu Nanli was still sitting on the carpet, just press the shoulders and neck. Wen Qiao was sitting on the sofa, with his legs by his side. He grabbed his ankles, passed through his armpits, and stepped loosely on his legs. She rubbed her fists and said, I have a lot of strength in my hands. You have to endure it when you press it. The more painful it is, the better the effect. Wen Qiao worked hard to help him, and Fu Nanli closed her eyes and enjoyed her hospitality. It was night. The two were watching TV on the sofa. Wen Qiao fell asleep in his arms. He carried the person into the bedroom, gently covered the quilt, and went out of the bedroom again. Never in his life had he experienced such a complicated situation, never had he had to make such a difficult choice. On the one hand, he hoped that she could get rid of the incredible disease that cannot live without him, but on the other hand, he hoped that she would carry this disease forever, so that she would be inseparable from him for the rest of her life. He stood on the terrace outside the living room smoking, frowning and thinking, if one day, she really recovered, with a free soul, would she leave him? In the early spring night with the bright moon and stars, he smoked half a pack of cigarettes alone on the terrace, unaware that it was late at night. In any case, he still wants to understand the disease first. Although it is a fantasy, such a thing really happened beside him. Zhou Jin, his close friend at MIT, is now engaged in medical research in country M. He called Zhou Jin. It was daytime there. Zhou Jin was a little strange. Did you just finish flying? No, in Haikan. Isn't it midnight in Haikan? Is there anything urgent? Fu Nanli flicked the cigarette ash and looked at the person on the screen. Have you ever encountered a disease where one person can't live without another person? Zhou Jin wore a white lab coat, took off his mask, and squinted at him. Did you fall in love? You don't need to call me across the ocean to show your love, right? Which superheroine can actually regain the heart of Mr. Fu? Fu Nanli said in a deep tone, I'm not joking with you. If she leaves me for 13 days, she will be in a coma. The person on the screen seemed to push the door open and entered his office. Zhou Jin didn't come back to his senses for a while. Who? My girlfriend. Zhou Jin frowned slightly. Are you sure you're not joking with me? Fu Nanli, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Zhou Jin couldn't believe it. I have never heard of such a strange disease. Do you have any other symptoms? It's just that I can't leave you for more than 13 days. It seems so. Zhou Jin clapped the table. Then what else to worry about? She is your girlfriend anyway. Just don't separate the two of you, it means that you are a natural couple. The worry in Fu Nanli's eyes is clear. If someone with ulterior motives finds out, her life will be in danger. It was the only thing he worried about. Zhou Jin knew that Fu Nanli was serious about this feeling. He originally thought that he was a science and engineering machine, but when he would cherish a girl like this, he was very curious and wanted to know who the other party was. Then I'll go back to China in 2 days. You can think of a way for me to give her a full body check. Only after I check it can I know the direction of further research. Okay, when you come back, don't tell anyone about this. Zhou Jin nodded. Don't worry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 359. The night was amiable. He returned to the bedroom, lay down beside her, wrapped the person in his arms, bent down and pressed a kiss on the corner of her mouth. His heart was soft and painful. Wouldn't it be better to stay with me? Sunflower protection work. Apart from the confusion at the beginning, several international theft organizations realized that not only the highest security level was activated this time, but also the masters of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon were secretly assisting the official protection of this world-class famous painting. Until a week later, the group of 4 returned to Heiken together. The first task was successfully completed, and the famous painting was returned to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. The person in charge of the W Guild sent a message to Wen Xiao. The task is very smooth, the reward has been sent to your account, please pay attention to check. Wen Xiao distributed $100,000 to each of the people who participated in the mission, and he also took $100,000. Yu Shu chewed gum, blew a big bubble, and put his arms around her shoulders. You are the chief planner. If you hadn't proposed to put the paintings in my backpack and let us fish in troubled waters and enter the museum, there is a real possibility that those who have prepared robbers take advantage of the loopholes. You at least have to take a big head. The rest said they had no opinion. Wen Xiao shrugged. It's okay, the rest of the money is used as the fund for the folk music club, because the school has a new folk music club represented by Fang Duo, and the board of directors obviously wants to hold the new folk music club. We may have to ourselves in the future. There are many places to spend money to do some small concerts. Yu Shu scolded the mother. I've long seen the people on the board of directors not pleasing to the eye. Speaking of which, one of them has a poor family background. It's just that everyone thinks that in school, you shouldn't always move out of your family background to bluff people, and it's not honorable to fight for your father. But Zhao Tong felt honored. Fang Duo felt even more honored. Lu Yuyu and Chun Xiao watched the variety show Fang Duo recorded together. After watching it, Lu Yuyu tooted, extremists. Wen Xiao was tuning his pipa and asked casually, what do you mean? Lu Yuyu, Fang Duo made a lot of nonsense on the show, saying that Chinese people shouldn't learn anything about piano and violin, but should play pipa and guhan. The sense of superiority in his tone is exactly the same as when Zhao Tong and Su Lu talked about the piano and cello before. Wen Xiao raised an eyebrow. Even if she no longer likes Sulu and Zhao Tong, she has never denied Western music. She never wanted Western music to overwhelm folk music, but she also didn't want to overdo it. What she hopes has always been the fusion of Chinese and Western music. There is no prejudice, there is no grudge, and there is no chain of contempt. You can choose the type of music you like. It feels like she is very good at shouting slogans. What she does is tantamount to provoking a war between folk music and Western music. Wen Qiao shrugged, extremes turn against each other, let her fight for a while. At least let Zhao Tong and the others know that if they want to coexist peacefully, they still have to keep their old folk music club. The new folk music club led by Fang Duo has been in the limelight for a while, whether it is on campus or on the internet because it has appeared on popular variety shows. Wen Qiao and the others minimized their sense of existence. It was not the first time for her to see him rise and collapse. People who do not understand modesty and low-key will never go far. So, Wen Qiao led the people of the old folk music club to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight. Lu Yuyu reported to her every day, Zhao Tong and Fang Duo got into a fight. Zhao Tong and Fang Duo fought again. Zhao Tong and Fang Duo fought again. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 360. The weather is warm, the mood is happy, and the feeling of watching a play and eating melons is still good. The two eldest misses focused on pinch each other, and did not come to trouble her anymore. She was very satisfied with this long-lost tranquility. The two sat on the terrace and played a song an evening outside Moscow together. Dongyao walked to the terrace, threw a small wooden box on the table, put his hands in his pockets, and glanced at Lu Yuyu. In London, I bought it at random, I'll give it to you. After saying that, he turned and walked away. Lu Yuyu. He picked up the small wooden box suspiciously and opened it. It was a very exquisite and beautiful retro pocket watch. Why did he buy this for me? Lu Yuyu looked at Wen Qiao in confusion. The only seated player in the folk music club, Wen Qiao, really ashamed of her identity, stared at the pocket watch for a long time, and said, "Does he have something to ask you to do?" Lu Yuyu scratched his head, "Then there's no need to give gifts. It's too common. We are all members of the same club. His business is mine." "Then talk to him." "Lu Yuyu, I have time to tell him, really." In the 504 dormitory, Zhao Tong entered the dormitory in a rage, slammed the door. Sulu took a glass of water and gave her. "Okay, don't be angry." Zhao Tong kicked the leg of the table angrily. "Listen to what nonsense that Fang Duo is talking about." Sulu shoved the water glass into her hand. She said hers. Do we still need to have common knowledge with her? When she promotes folk music, she promotes folk music, and when she steps on our Western music, why is her face so big? When our piano, violin and cello come into her mouth, they become an existence that can only carry a sedan chair for folk music. How can she be so arrogant? She was filled with righteous indignation and felt that when Fang Duo was too exhausted, she forgot who she used to be, and also looked down on Wen Qiao and the others, and slandered folk music so casually. Therefore, the wicked have their own grind. Zhao Tong added, "Thinking about it now, Wen Qiao and the others are better." Sulu clenched her fists unconsciously. "You forgot when Wen Qiao blocked you, what's so good about her?" Zhao Tong gritted his teeth. "One size is one size, Wen Qiao personally, I don't like it very much, but in music, she has never slandered Western music." Sulu was so depressed in her heart that even her best friend spoke for Wen Qiao now. "Wen Qiao, is she trying to realize the world harmony?" She forced a smile. "Don't heal the scar and forget the pain. Wen Qiao is not a good person, and Fang Duo is half a caddy." Zhao Tong, "Anyway, I hate Fang Duo very much now. If she dares to step on Western music to promote folk music, I will definitely not give up." Sulu didn't hate Fang Duo so much. Without this Fang Duo, Wen Qiao would not be the only one in the family. It is always good for someone to come out and press Wen Qiao. The enemy of the enemy is the friend. In order to celebrate the successful completion of this mission, Wen Qiao invited everyone to eat hot pot. Chun Xiao excitedly said, "Jojo, next time there is such a task, can you arrange me and Yo-Yo?" I remembered, we also have stunts, and I have superb makeup skills. I don't need to disguise in those special agent films. Dress up or something, Jojo, bring us both. Wen Qiao smiled, okay. Chun Xiao and Lu Yuyu hugged each other. Finally, I feel that I am not a waste person in the folk music club where there are many bosses. Dong Yao walked to the dipping area and was about to get a dipping saucer. Lu Yuyu followed, and patted Dong Yao on the shoulder. Do you have anything to ask me for help?